Have you ever been so happy, so utterly lost in a moment of pure joy that the rest of the world just fades away? It's a feeling so potent, so beautiful, you wish you could bottle it. For Emmerdale's young sweethearts, Sarah Sugden and Jacob Gallagher, that moment arrived on a checkered blanket, under an open sky, with a question that would change everything. But in the Dales, as in life, no perfect moment exists in a vacuum. The real world, with all its messy complications and heartbreaking realities, is always waiting just beyond the edges of the picnic blanket. And this week, we were all reminded of that in the most emotionally powerful way. Let's rewind for a second, because the sweetness of what just happened deserves to be savored. We all watched, our hearts in our throats, as Jacob laid his own heart bare. This wasn't a flippant teenage crush. This was a deep, soul-bearing confession of love. You could see the terror and the hope warring in his eyes. And for Sarah, a young woman who has fought more battles in her short life than most fight in a lifetime, the fear was palpable. To love is to risk. For Sarah, whose heart is a precious, borrowed gift, to love is to risk everything. Her hesitation wasn't about her feelings for Jacob. It was about the potential for another scar on a heart that has already endured so much. But love, true love, is a force of nature. When she finally confessed she loved him too, it was like the sun breaking through the clouds. Eager to cement this perfect moment, to prove his commitment wasn't fleeting, Jacob did something wonderfully impulsive, romantic, and utterly terrifying. He proposed. And in that bubble of pure, unadulterated happiness, she said yes. For a fleeting moment, they were just two kids in love, with a future stretching out before them, sparkling with promise. If only it were that simple. The next and perhaps greatest hurdle wasn't a logistical one. It was a person. A person who loves Jacob fiercely and protectively, his granddad, Eric Pollard. Jacob's anxiety was written all over his face. He knew this wasn't going to be a simple announcement met with cheers and champagne. Eric had already voiced his concerns, his disapproval, over their previous plans for surrogacy. The engagement in his mind was just another step down a road he was convinced could only lead to one place: devastation for his grandson. When the couple finally shared their news, Eric's reaction was exactly what Jacob had feared. It wasn't anger, not really. It was something far deeper and more painful: fear. Eric looked at Sarah and didn't just see his grandson's fiancée, he saw a clock ticking. He saw her fragile health, her limited life expectancy, and he translated all of that into the inevitable, crushing heartbreak he believed Jacob was signing up for. His love for his grandson had become a shield, but one so thick it was blocking out the light. This is where the story pivots from a simple romance into something truly profound. This is where Sarah Sugden showed everyone the warrior she has always been. Later, finding Eric alone, she didn't come with tearful pleas or angry accusations. She came with wisdom, empathy, and a truth so powerful it left him, and many of us watching, completely floored. She appealed to the one thing she knew he would understand: his own history. She reminded him of Val. Oh, Val Pollard, the love of Eric's life. Their relationship was a whirlwind of passion, laughter, and drama, a love story that lit up the village for 8 glorious years. And it ended in the most tragic, sudden way imaginable. Eric knows what it is to love with everything you have and then to have it ripped away. He lives with that grief every single day. And it's that very pain he wants to spare Jacob from. It comes from a place of love, a deep, aching love. But Sarah, with a courage that just takes your breath away, gently turned his logic back on him. She asked him to look back on those 8 years with Val. Were they a mistake? Was the joy not worth the eventual pain? Was the love they shared not worth the grief that followed? Of course it was. Anyone who ever saw them together knows that. Then she delivered the line that changed everything. She reasoned that she could have 20 more years to live. Maybe more, maybe less. Nobody truly knows. But wasn't the possibility of 20 years of happiness, of real, all-consuming love for Jacob, worth the risk? She wasn't just fighting for her engagement anymore. She was fighting for her right to be loved, not as a diagnosis or a ticking clock, but as a whole person. She was fighting for Jacob's right to choose his own happiness, to live his own life, and to love fiercely, even if it comes with no guarantees. Because really, does life ever offer any? Her words hung in the air, a perfect, unassailable truth. She used Eric's greatest pain not as a weapon, but as a bridge to understanding. She showed him that he wasn't protecting Jacob from pain. He was potentially robbing him of a great love, just like the one he himself had been lucky enough to experience. The final scene at the Woolpack was the emotional payoff we were all desperate for. Having truly listened and reflected on Sarah's incredible words, Eric found his grandson. There were no grand speeches, just a simple, heartfelt apology. He admitted his fear had blinded him. He opened his arms and embraced them both, giving them the one thing they so desperately needed, his blessing. The look of pure, unadulterated relief and joy on Jacob's face said it all. His world was whole again. This storyline is Emmerdale at its absolute best. It's a poignant, beautifully acted exploration of one of life's most difficult questions. Is it better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all? Sarah and Jacob are choosing to love. They are choosing to seize the happiness they can have now, rather than living in fear of a sorrow that may or may not come later. They are a testament to the idea that the quality of time you have with someone is infinitely more important than the quantity. It's a lesson for us all, delivered straight from the heart of the Dales. They're choosing joy, they're choosing each other, and they're choosing to believe that their love story, however long it lasts, is one worth writing.